Okay, first and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Today, I want to cover Daniel 11, verse 2, and go into the history of those, the four kings spoken about within this verse. For conflicts to come. Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And I will shew thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Now, at this time period, we're dealing with the Achaemenid Empire. And this is after the Assyrians and the Babylonians have ruled. And now you have the Medo-Persians, which at this point the Persians were on top. So the current king was Cyrus the Great, also known as Cyrus II of Persia. Now Cyrus isn't a part of these 4 kings that are yet to come. These are the kings that come after him. It says, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. And these 3 kings start with Cambyses II, which was the son of Cyrus, followed by his younger brother Bardia, also known as Smerdis. And the 3rd king was Darius the Great, which is not to be confused with Darius the Mede. These are two completely different people. Okay, he goes on to say, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia, which is Xerxes, or the Ahasuerus of the book of Esther. Okay, now dealing with Cyrus the Great. Cyrus II of Persia, commonly known as Cyrus the Great, was the founder of the Persian Achaemenid Empire. Hailing from Persis, he brought the Achaemenid dynasty to power by defeating the Median Empire and embracing all of the previous civilized states of the ancient Near East, expanding vastly and eventually conquering most of West Asia and much of Central Asia. Now, this is going into Daniel 7, specifically verse 5, where it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, which is representing the Medo-Persian Empire, and it raised itself up on one side. And it raised up itself on one side, which is talking about the Persians, or the Achaemenid Empire. And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Now those 3 ribs are going into Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt, these were the places that the empire eventually took over, the first 2 being taken under the rule of Cyrus, and Egypt under the rule of Cambyses II. Okay, so expanding vastly and eventually conquering most of West Asia and much of Central Asia to create what would soon become the largest polity in human history at the time. The Achaemenid Empire's largest territorial extent was achieved under Darius the Great, whose rule stretched from southeast Europe into the west of the Indus River Valley in the east. Okay. Now here, looking at the map, we see all that they have conquered. Oh, this is orange, the so-called Achaemenid Empire, or the Persian Empire, all the way into the Indus Valley here. Okay, continue on reading. After conquering the Median Empire, which was what we went into dealing with Daniel 11 and 1, where Cyrus went against his grandfather on his mother's side, known as Darius the Mede, or Astyages, and he took him down, thus conquering the Median Empire. Cyrus led the Achaemenids to conquer Lydia, which was one of the the ribs that were in the mouth of the bear in Daniel 7 and 5, and eventually the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which was another rib in the mouth of the bear in Daniel 7 and 5. He also led an expedition into Central Asia, which resulted in major military campaigns that were described as having brought into subjection every nation without exception. Cyrus allegedly died in battle with the Massagetae, a nomadic eastern Iranian tribal confederation along the Sirdaria in December 530 BC. However, Xenophon of Athens claimed that Cyrus did not die fighting and had instead returned to the city of Pasargadae, which served as the Achaemenid ceremonial capital. And when you look into it in research, most historians say that Cyrus actually did end up dying. He was succeeded by his son Cambyses II, whose campaigns into North Africa led to the conquest of Egypt, Nubia, and Cyrenaica during his short rule. So, yeah, Egypt was the third rib in the bear's mouth. And when we go back to Daniel 11 and 2, it says, "There shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia." The first of those 3 kings is here, right here. He was succeeded by his son Cambyses II. Cambyses II is the first of those 3 kings. But before we get into Cambyses II, there's a little more on Cyrus, because when the Babylonians first came and besieged Jerusalem, right? They destroyed the temple and the gates and, everything else. And they took us captives into Babylon. When Cyrus rose into power and took down the Babylonian Empire, he gave an edict that was called the Edict of Restoration. And, he made a decree for us to go back into Jerusalem and to go rebuild the temple. And this was the process that started with Cyrus, but then it was paused throughout, but then it was restored again. So, to the Greeks, he was known as Cyrus the Elder. Cyrus was particularly renowned among contemporary scholars because of his habitual policy of respecting people's customs and religions in the lands that he conquered. Right? Because Cyrus, he wasn't known for being an aggressive or more brutal kind of ruler. He was influential in developing the system of a central administration of Pasargadae to govern the Achaemenid Empire's satraps, which were, like governors, which worked for the profit of both rulers and subjects. Following the Persian conquest of Babylon, Cyrus issued the Edict of Restoration, which was actually 2 edicts, in which he authorized and encouraged the return of Jewish people to what had been the kingdom of Judah, officially ending the Babylonian captivity. Okay, he's mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, left a lasting legacy on Judaism, which it wasn't Judaism. Due to his role in facilitating the return to Zion, a migratory event in which the Jews returned to the land of Israel following Cyrus's establishment of which have been destroyed by the Babylonians of Jerusalem. According to Isaiah 45:1, Cyrus was anointed by, here it says Yahweh, but we know the true name of the Lord is Yahweh, for this task as a biblical Messiah. He's the only non-Jewish figure to be revered in this capacity. Okay, so let's go to Isaiah 45:1. God uses Cyrus. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings to open before him, the 2 leave gates, and the gates shall not be shut. Now, don't get things confused. The anointed here does not mean that Cyrus is an Israelite or that he is the Messiah. It just means that he was chosen to do this purpose. He was the chosen vessel of the Lord to fulfill a specific task. And in this case, this specific task was to allow us to return to Jerusalem to rebuild. I'm going to Isaiah 44, verse 28. Isaiah 44, verse 28. That saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built into the temple, thy foundation shall be laid. So why is this? Once again, because the Lord has set Cyrus to also fulfill this specific task. And this confirms the edict of restoration. We also notice how that Cyrus by name is written of in the scriptures, and we're also reading about him here on Wikipedia. So we're reading about him in the scriptures and on Wikipedia as it's confirming the edict of restoration. And Isaiah prophesied this way before Cyrus was even on the scene, which just proves the validity of the scriptures. For those who claim them to be false, or claim them to be fictional, or claim them to be fairy tales. So we know now that Cyrus was the one the Lord used to give that decree for us to go back and rebuild the temple. That was his main important role, so to speak. Okay, so moving on to Cambyses II, which was the first of the three kings spoken about in Daniel 11 and 2. The first of the four kings, should I say. And Cambyses II was the second king of kings of the Achaemenid Empire from 530 to 522 BC. He was the son and successor of Cyrus the Great. And his mother was Casandane. His relatively brief reign was marked by his conquest in North Africa, notably Egypt. Remember Egypt being one of the ribs that were in the mouth of the bear, which he conquered after his victory over the Egyptian pharaoh Psamtik III at the Battle of Pelusium in 525 BC. After having established himself in Egypt, he expanded the empire's holdings in Africa, including the conquest of Cyrenaica, Slakia. In the spring of 522 BC, Cambyses hurriedly left Egypt to deal with a rebellion in Persia. Before his ascension, Cambyses had briefly served as the governor of northern Babylonia under his father from April to December 538 BC. Afterwards, he resided in the Babylonian cities of Babylon and Sippar before being appointed by his father as co-ruler in 530 BC. His father then set off an expedition against the Massagetae of Central Asia, where he made his end. Cambyses thus became the sole ruler of the vast Achaemenid Empire, facing no reported opposition. While en route in Syria, Ebrenari, he received a wound to the thigh, which was soon affected by gangrene. Cambyses died 3 weeks later at a location called Agmatana, which is most likely the modern city of Hama. He died childless and was thus succeeded by his younger brother Bardia, who ruled for a short period before being overthrown by Darius the Great, who went on to increase the power of the Achaemenids even further. So, dealing with Cambyses II, when we go into the book of Ezra, Ezra chapter 4. Okay, so we are rebuilding at this point because Cyrus had given us the decree to go back and build. But okay, right, so let's prove that first. Ezra 1:1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord power of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you, all his people? His power be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel. He is the God, which is in Jerusalem. So Cyrus gives his permission to go back. Number of those returning, Ezra chapter 2, verse 1. Like these are the children of the province that went up out of captivity, of those which had been carried away, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Judah, every one unto his city, which came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Seraiah, Realiah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispar, Bigvai, Rehum, Baanah, the number of the men of the people of Israel. The children of Parosh, 2,172. The children of Shephatiah, 372. Okay, so then just goes to list the names. So back Ezra 4. Right, so as we're building the temple, because we've already been given permission to go back by Cyrus. Cyrus now dies, and so if we were to search up when did Cyrus give the decree? Jerusalem. Okay, here we get 539 BC. Yeah, 539 BC. And if we were to go back, see when Cyrus died, he died in about 530 BC. So for about 9 years under Cyrus's rule, we were able to build, but the building wasn't complete before Cyrus died. So now there's a new king, which is his son, Cambyses II, and at the time we were still building the temple. And that's when we start to face the troubles that we'll read about here in Ezra chapter 4. So remember, this is as we're currently building a temple. Adversaries hindered the work. Ezra chapter 4, verse 1. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, Let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. Now, why is this? Well, going back during the time of the northern and southern kingdoms, being in the land, you get to the point of the last northern king, which is Hosea, who was, he was at the time when Samaria got besieged by the Assyrians. And when they besieged us, they deported another kingdom out of their land and put them somewhere in Assyria. Then they imported heathens from the different locations like Babylon, Assyria, and other locations into the cities of Samaria, where another kingdom used to dwell. And we could read about that in 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 17. Verse 1. Hoshea reigns over Israel. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to go to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years, Israel captive. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan in the city. So continue on, jumping down to verse 24. City of Israel filled with strangers. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Avad, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So, right, we see that the Samaria was besieged, and after it was besieged, Israel was taken out of their land and replaced with heathens that were brought into Samaria. So going back to Ezra, where it says, now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity built the temple unto the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, these adversaries are those people and their descendants who are now living in the land where the northern kingdom used to dwell. See, but when they first came, they were defiling the land. So the Lord, what did he do? He had sent lions among them, and that's why the Assyrian king had to send a Levite or a priest to show them how, to basically show them how things were done, so that the Lord would stop sending those lions. And in doing this is what got them into their mindset to where they kept doing that for generations. And as the more time went on, they started to claim being a part of us. They started to claim being a part of Israel, which is why they said here, let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do, as we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Sargon. Verse 2. Let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do, and we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assur, which brought us up hither. Right, that's when they got imported into the land, and they had to learn how to deal while being on the land. But this doesn't make them Israelites; they were still heathens. Right, see? And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord Yahweh. Therefore the Lord Yahweh sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Verse 7, then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom he brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. So, the king had to send a priest to go show them how things were done. But going back to Ezra. Right, but like I said, them knowing how to deal, them learning how to deal while being on the land, it doesn't make them Israelites. They were still heathens. Verse 3, but Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded us. So we're basically like, y'all can stay away. This has nothing to do with y'all. Y'all have no parts in this. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building. So because we didn't let them build with us, they got bitter and decided to trouble us or to stress us out to make things harder. and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So, from Cyrus to Darius, between them you had Cambyses II and Bardia. Then came Darius. So they frustrated our purpose while Cyrus was alive through the reign of Cambyses II, the reign of Bardia, all the way through the time of Darius. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia. And the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. Now, the Ahasuerus here in verse 6 and Artaxerxes here in verse 7, they aren't talking about the king during the time of Esther. And why is that? Because by the time of Esther, the temple was already completed, because we completed the temple during the time of Darius the Great. And Darius the Great came before Ahasuerus. So if this is the same Ahasuerus during the book of Esther, it wouldn't make sense if they wrote accusations against us to him, because we would have already finished the temple. Now, going into Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus, I will be silent and poor, title of the king of Persia, which is probably Xerxes. And it wasn't Xerxes. This is wrong. Go to dictionaries. Ahasuerus, there are 3 kings designated by this name in scripture. The first one, the father of Darius the Mede, mentioned in Daniel 9:1. This was probably the Cyaxares I, known by his name in profane history, the king of Media and the conqueror of Nineveh. Number 2, the king mentioned in Ezra 4 and 6, probably the Cambyses of profane history, the son and successor of Cyrus. Number 3, the son of Darius Hystaspes, the king named in the book of Esther. He ruled over the kingdoms of Persia, Media, and Babylonian from India to Ethiopia. This was in all probability the Xerxes of profane history. And right, so Ezra 4. Here in Ezra chapter 4, verse 6, it's speaking about Cambyses II, that Ahasuerus. He is the Ahasuerus that they wrote the accusations against us too. And he is the same Artaxerxes in the next verse, in verse 7. The letter to King Artaxerxes. Rehum, the chancellor, and Shimshai the scribe wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes the king in his sword. Then wrote Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe and the rest of their companions, the Danites, the Alpharsachites, the Tarpelites, the Apharsites, the Archavites, the Babylonians, the Susankites, the Dehavites, and the Elamites, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asnapar brought over and set in the cities of Samaria, and the rest are on this side the river. And at such a time, this is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king, thy servants, the men on this side the river. And at such a time, be it known unto the king that the Jews which came up from thee to us are come unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city, and have set up the walls thereof and joined the foundations. Be it known now unto the king that if this city be builded and the walls set up again, then will they not pay toll, tribute, and custom, so thou shalt damage the revenue of the kings. Now because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore have we sent and certified the king, that search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers. So shalt thou find in the book of the records, and know that this city is a rebellious city, and hurtful unto kings and provinces, and that they have moved sedition within the same of old time, for which cause was this city destroyed. We certify the king that if this city be builded again, and the walls thereof set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion on this side of the river. So these are the things they were just saying against us. This is a rebellious city. This city destroys kings, so on and so forth. The king replies and work what? The king replies and work stops. Ezra 4 verse 17. Then sent the king an answer unto Rehum the chancellor, and to Shimshai the scribe, and to the rest of their companions that dwell in Samaria, and unto the rest beyond the river, peace. And at such a time, the letter which he sent unto us hath been plainly read before me, and I commanded, and search hath been made, and is found that this city of old time hath made insurrection against kings, and that rebellion and sedition have been made therein. There have been mighty kings also over Jerusalem, which have ruled over all countries beyond the river, and toll tribute and custom was paid unto them. Give ye now commandments to cause these men to cease, and that the city be not builded until another commandment shall be given from me. Take heed now that ye fail not to do this. Why should damage grow to the hurts of the kings? So this is the decree that Cambyses II made. So Cyrus's father allows us to go rebuild, but then these heathens, they make false accusations against us. So when Cyrus passes and his son comes to rule, he sees and reads the letter accusing us and stops us from building. So for the reign of Cambyses II, we can't build. See, Cambyses reigned from 530 to 522 BC. So for about 8 years, we weren't allowed to build. Now when the copy of King Artaxerxes' letter was read before Rehum and Shimshai the scribe and their companions, they went up in haste to Jerusalem unto the Jews, and made them to seize by force and power. Then ceased the work of the house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem, so it ceased unto the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. So dealing with Cambyses II, this is what he did and how it affected us, how it affected Israel. And Cambyses II, he is the first, not Cyrus, but Cambyses II, he's the first of those 4 kings spoken about in Daniel 11 and 2. Now moving on to the second king. Bardiya. Okay, Bardiya or Smerdis possibly died 522 BCE. So in the same year Cambyses II died and Bardiya came into power, Bardiya died in that same year. So yeah, he didn't rule for much long. Also named as Taniaxarxes by Ctesias, was son of Cyrus the Great and the younger brother of Cambyses II, both Persian kings. There are sharply divided views on his life. Bardiya either ruled the Achaemenid Empire for a few months in 522 BCE or was impersonated by a magus called Gamada, whose name is given by Ctesias as Phinadides, until he was toppled by Darius the Great. So, right, this is Bardiya. And going back to Daniel 11 and 2, going back to Daniel 11 and 2, when you start with Cambyses II, the second king is Bardiya. But like I said before, he only ruled for a couple months, and he didn't really have a significant impact on us. Moving on to the third king. The third king spoken about in, the third of the 4 kings spoken about in Daniel 11 and 2 was Darius the Great. And it was during his time we were allowed to continue building the temple. Darius I, commonly known as Darius the Great, was the third king of kings of the Achaemenid Empire. Reigning from 522 BCE until his death in 486 BCE, he ruled the empire at its territorial peak, when it included much of Western Asia, parts of the Balkans, Thrace, Macedonia and Paeonia, and the Caucasus, most of the Black Sea's coastal regions, Central Asia, the Indus Valley in the Far East, the portions of North Africa, Northeast Africa, including Egypt, Eastern Libya, and coastal Sudan. Darius ascended the throne by overthrowing the Achaemenid monarch Bardia, or Smerdis, who he claimed was in fact an impostor named Gaumata. So, right, there's historians who say Darius found out that Bardia was an impostor and he ended up killing him, thus becoming king. And there's others that say that Darius was actually a usurper who killed Bardia, then claimed to be part of their royal line and became king. Okay, real life attention. Right, so there are different accounts of the rise of Darius to the throne from both Darius himself and Greek historians. The oldest records report a convoluted sequence of events in which Cambyses II lost his mind, murdered his brother Bardia, and was killed by an infected leg wound, which is what we read about earlier, dealing with gangrene. After this, Darius and a group of 6 nobles traveled to Sikyavadi to kill an usurper, Gaumata, who had taken the throne by pretending to be Bardia during the true king's absence. So, right, one story, they're saying Cambyses II lost his mind and killed his brother. Then you had a Magi, who was Gaumata, who saw that Bardia was dead while it wasn't really publicly known. So he posed as Bardia, but Darius found out, and along with some nobles, they killed him. Okay, so Darius's account, written at the Behistun inscription, states that Cambyses II killed his own brother Bardia, but that this known murder was not known among the Iranian people, or the Persians or the Elamites. A would-be usurper named Gaumata came and lied to the people, stating that he was Bardia. The Iranians had grown rebellious against Cambyses' rule, and on 11th March 522 BCE, a revolt against Cambyses broke out in his absence. On the 1st July, the Iranian people chose to be under the leadership of Gaumata as Bardia. No member of the Achaemenid family would rise against Gaumata for the safety of their own life. Darius, who had served Cambyses as his lance bearer until the disposed ruler's death, prayed for aid. And in September 522 BCE, along with Otanes, Antiphanes, Gobryas, Hydarnes, Megabezus, and Aspathanes, killed Gaumata in the fortress of Sikyavadi. Herodotus provides a dubious account of Darius' ascension. So, now that they've killed the usurper, the question is, who becomes king, since they killed the so-called king? Several days after Gaumata had been assassinated, Darius and the other 6 nobles discussed the fate of the empire. At first, the 7 discussed the form of government. A democratic republic, isonomia, was strongly pushed by Otanes, and oligarchy was pushed by Megabezus, while Darius pushed for a monarchy. After stating that a republic would lead to corruption and internal fighting, while a monarchy would be led with a single-mindedness not possible in other governments, Darius was able to convince the other nobles. To decide who would become the monarch, 6 of them decided on a test, with Otanes abstaining as he had no interest in being king. They were to gather outside the palace, mounted on their horse at sunrise, and the man whose horse neighed first in recognition of the rising sun would become king. According to Herodotus, Darius had a slave, Oberes, who rubbed his hand over the genitals of a mare at Darius' horse's favor. When the six gathered, Oberis placed his hand beside the nostrils of Darius' horse, who became excited at the scent and neighed. So Darius had his slave rub his hands on a private area of a horse that Darius's, horse basically liked. So when the slave puts his hand next to Darius's horse's nose, he smells it and neighs. So the others are thinking that, Darius's his horse neighed because of the sunrise, but it wasn't because of that. This was followed by lightning and thunder, leading the others to dismount and kneel before Darius in recognition of his apparent divine providence. In this account, Darius himself claimed that he achieved the throne, not through fraud, but cunning, even erecting a statue of himself mounted on his neighing horse with his inscription, Darius, son of Hystaspes, obtained the sovereignty of Persia by the sagacity of his horse and ingenious contrivance of Oberis, his groom. So, within history, the secular history, this is the story of how Darius became king. But now as king, what did Darius do? How did he impact Israel? What effect did he have on Israel? Alright, so remember, so at the time of Ezra 4, we've been stopped from building our temple after Cyrus died. So, how were we know that under Darius's rule, we were able to build the temple and complete it. So how did that come about? First Ezra chapter 3, verse 1. Now when Darius reigned, he made a great feast unto all his subjects, and unto all his household, and unto all the princes of Media and Persia, and to all the governors and captains and lieutenants that were under him, from India unto Ethiopia, of 127 provinces. And when they had eaten and drunken, and being satisfied were gone home, then Darius the king went unto his bedchamber and slept, and soon after awaked. Then 3 young men that were of the guard that kept the king's body spake one to another, Let every one of us speak a sentence. He that shall overcome, and whose sentence shall seem wiser than the others, unto him shall the king Darius give great gifts and great things in token of victory. So, they were basically like, all right, let's each come up with a wise saying and tell them to the king, and whoever's saying is the wisest will receive what? Great gifts and great things in token of victory from the king. And one of those 3 men were Zerubbabel. And if we jump to verse 10, we see what they wrote, and what their sayings were. They were basically answering the question of who was the strongest. So chapter 3 verse 10, the first wrote wine is the strongest, the second wrote the king is the strongest, the third wrote women are strongest, but above all things truth beareth away victory. And that third one was Zerubbabel. Prove that here in verse 13. Then the third, who had spoken of women the truth, and this was Zerubbabel, began to speak. Alright, so now we see that the third was Zerubbabel, and he actually ends up winning. So jumping down to verse 41. And with that he held his peace, and all the people then shouted and said, Great is truth, and mighty above all things. Now this is after Zerubbabel gave his reasoning. And all the people then shouted and said, Great is truth, and mighty above all things. Why? Because what did Zerubbabel say? He said that women are the strongest, but above them all is the truth. And he won with that. Then said the king unto him, Ask what thou would more than is appointed in the writing. Right, so not only will you receive what was, appointed, but what more do you want? And we will give it thee, because thou art found wisest, and thou shalt sit next to me, and shalt be called my cousin. Now, this isn't speaking like a blood relation. It's just meaning, someone close to you. Then said he unto the king, remember thy vow, which thou hast vowed to build Jerusalem, in the day when thou camest to thy kingdom, and to send away all the vessels that were taken away out of Jerusalem, which Cyrus set apart when he vowed to destroy Babylon, and to send them again thither. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. So, the Edomites, they were partakers of our destruction when the Babylons came as well. Another verse on that. Psalms 137, I believe. Yeah, 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. Now, what does it mean to raise something? To tear down or demolish something until it is flat with the ground. So, they're saying raise it to Jerusalem, meaning they wanted the complete destruction of Jerusalem. So, Esau, they got to pay as well. Verse 46, and now, O Lord the King, which is that which I require. No, this is that which I require, and which I desire of thee. And this is the princely liberality proceeding from thyself. I desire, therefore, that thou make good the vow, the performance whereof with thine own mouth thou hast vowed to the King of heaven. Then Darius the king stood up and kissed him, and wrote letters for him unto all the treasurers and lieutenants and captains and governors, that they should safely convey on their way both, and all those that go up with him to build Jerusalem. He wrote letters also unto the lieutenants that were in Seleucia and Phoenix, and unto them in Libanus, that they should bring cedar wood from Libanus unto Jerusalem, and that they should build the city with him. Moreover, he wrote for all the Jews that went out of his realm up into Jewry, concerning their freedom, that no officer, no ruler, no lieutenant, nor treasurer should forcibly enter into their doors, and that all the country which they hold should be free without tribute, and that the Edomites should give over the village of Jews which then they held. Yet they there should be yearly given 20 talents to the building of the temple until the time that it is built. Okay, so not only did Darius give us permission to go back, but he also said that, he basically said that he'd finance the building of the kingdom. So, jump down to verse 61. And so he took the letters and went out and came unto Babylon, and told it to all his brethren, which this is Zerubbabel. And they praised the God of their fathers, because he had given them freedom and liberty to go up and to build Jerusalem and the temple which is called by his name. And they feasted with instruments of music and gladness 7 days. So, right, it says, and came unto Babylon and told it to all his brethren. So, because why did he go to Babylon? Because when the building of Jerusalem was halted, they went back to Babylon because they couldn't keep building. So that's where, Zerubbabel went to go tell his brethren, hey guys, we got permission to go build the temple again. Alright, so going back to Ezra chapter 4, verse 24. Here, then ceased the work of the house of the Most High, which is at Jerusalem. So it ceased unto the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Right, when it says it ceased unto the 2nd year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia, this is how the Lord basically allowed us to go back and rebuild the temple. But see, now there was a problem with that. And what was his problem? Haggai begins temple building. In the second year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, in the 1st day of the month, came the word of the Lord Yahweh by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua the son of Josedech, the high priest, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, This people say, This time is not come, the time that the Lord's house shall be built. Now, why is this? Well, we were in Babylon for so long that some of Israel started getting comfortable, and certain Israelites didn't want to go back to Jerusalem to go build the temple. And that's why the Lord, he had raised up Haggai and Zechariah, to basically tell them to get up and get to work. Going to Zechariah chapter 1 verse 1, it calls to repentance in the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius. Now, let me finish reading first. In the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord Yahweh unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo the prophet, saying, The Lord Yahweh hath been sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Turn ye unto me, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. So it says in the 8th month, in the 2nd year of Darius. We go back to Haggai, in the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month. So you see that Haggai and Zechariah were contemporaries. As Haggai was going out, to preach, so was Zechariah. It was like at the same time. That's what it means to be contemporary. Something happening or existing in the present time or belonging to the same period time as something else. All right. But going back to Haggai. In the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, right, thus speaketh the Lord Yahweh of hosts, saying, This people say. Okay, we read that. Then came the word of the Lord Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O you to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lies waste? So, so y'all can dwell in y'all build houses, but the Lord's house is desolate and unfinished. No, that's not how things work. Jumping on to verse 12. There's Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, and Joshua the son of Josedech, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of the Lord Yahweh their power, and the words of Haggai the prophet, as the Lord their power has sent him, and the people did fear before the Lord. Then spake Haggai the Lord's messenger, and the Lord's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, saith the Lord. And the Lord stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua, the son of Josedech, the high priest, and the spirit of all the remnant of the people. And they came and did the work in the house of the Lord of hosts, their God, in the 24th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of Darius the king. So, long story short, we were able to complete the temple, but it wasn't until the time of Nehemiah that we were able to complete the walls. When Nehemiah, verse 6, I believe, chapter 6, I believe. Yes, the wall is finished. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in the 50 and 2 days. So right, it wasn't until Nehemiah that we were able to complete the walls. The wiki. Right, we're here. We claim it was a fake person. Right. So the new king met with rebellions throughout the empire, but quelled each of them. A major event in Darius' life was his expedition to subjugate Greece and punish Athens and Eritrea for their participation in the Ionian revolt. And okay, so now we're gonna get to the fourth king in Daniel 11:2, and why it says that he shall stir up all the realm against Grecia. And the fourth shall be far richer than the all, and by strength of his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Right, we're gonna get into that. So the new king met with rebellions throughout the empire, but quelled each of them. A major event in Darius' life was his expedition to subjugate Greece and punish Athens and Eritrea for their participation in the Ionian revolt. Going back to the map, see here, I have Ionia and Greece, and we have Athens and Eritrea, which are somewhere down here in Greece. And, over here is going to cause problems for them with the revolt and other things. So, right, what had happened was when the Persians were over to Greece, they set up tyrants who were like governors, and these tyrants, to create these tyrants, they would take Greek natives and make them rulers over those people that would answer to the Persians. Now, one of them, by the name of Aristogoros, he was the tyrant of Miletus. He wanted to rise in ranks, so what he decided to do was start a campaign, which failed. And in fear of losing his position, he sparked the Greek revolt in Ionia. And during this time, Athens and Eritrea, which were, down here in Greece, they came up and helped the Greeks over in Ionia revolt against the Persians. So after the Persians, basically shut things down, Darius decided that he wanted to punish Athens and Eritrea for helping in the Ionian revolt, which ultimately led to the Battle of Thermopylae. So continuing, although his campaign ultimately resulted in failure at the Battle of Marathon, he succeeded in the resubjugation of Thrace and expanded the Achaemenid Empire through his conquest of Macedonia, the Cyclades, and the island of Naxos. Darius organized the empire by dividing it into administrative provinces, each governed by a satrap. So right here, Persian invasion of Greece, first Persian invasion of Greece. Okay, so this was the first Persian invasion of Greece because remember, what did Darius want to do? He said he wanted to punish Athens and Eritrea. Now, what happened was they were able to get Eritrea, but they met defeat against Athens. But even though the Persians lost to Athens, they pretty much showed that actions do have consequences. You can't just come over here, do one thing that you're not supposed to be doing and expect to just leave and nothing's going to happen to you. No, you gotta, there's things that come behind that. So Darius then sent messengers throughout Greek areas to gain their subjugation, but when those messengers arrived at Sparta, they were executed. Now, of course, that made Darius furious even more. So Darius decides to have another Persian invasion of Greece, but he ended up dying before that. So his son Xerxes, which was the fourth king spoken about in Daniel 11:2, his son Xerxes had to continue the invasion, which was called the second Persian invasion of Greece, which led to the Battle of Thermopylae between the Persians and the Spartans and other Greek city-states. So Darius responded by sending troops led by his son-in-law across the Hellespont. However, a violent storm and harassment by the Thracians forced the troops to return to Persia. Seeking revenge on Athens and Eretria, Darius assembled another army of 20,000 men under his admiral Datis and his nephew Artaphernes, who met success when they captured Eretria and advanced to Marathon in 490 BCE. At the Battle of Marathon, the Persian army was defeated by a heavily armed Athenian army with 9,000 men who were supported by 600 Plataeans and 10,000 lightly armed soldiers led by Miltiades. The defeat at Marathon marked the end of the first Persian invasion of Greece. Darius began preparing for a second force, which he would command instead of his generals. However, before the preparations were complete, Darius died, thus leaving the task to his son Xerxes. And right, like I said before, Xerxes is the fourth king in Daniel 11. In Daniel 11 and 2, where it says, "And the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia." You know, this is why he did it. He was picking up where his father left off, leading into that second invasion. That's how he stirred up all against the realm of Grecia. Now, Xerxes the First, commonly known as Xerxes the Great, was a Persian ruler who serves as the fourth king of kings of the Achaemenid Empire, which, goes along with Daniel 11 and 2, where it says, "And the fourth shall be far richer than they all." And this Xerxes, he is the king by the name of Ahasuerus in the book of Esther. Reigning from 486 BC until his assassination in 465 BC, he was the son of Darius the Great and Atossa, a daughter of Cyrus the Great. In Western history, Xerxes is best known for his invasion of Greece in 480 BC, which ended in Persian defeat. So, you see, they lost again. Xerxes was designated successor by Darius over his elder brother Artabarzan, and inherited a large multi-ethnic empire upon his father's death. He consolidated his power by crushing revolts in Egypt and Babylon and renewed his father's campaign to subjugate Greece and punish Athens and his allies for their interference in the Ionian Revolt. In 480 BC, Xerxes personally led a large army and crossed the Hellespont into Europe. He achieved victories at Thermopylae and Artemisium before capturing and razing Athens. His forces gained control of mainland Greece north of the Isthmus of Corinth until their defeat at the Battle of Salamis. Fearing that the Greeks might trap him in Europe, Xerxes retreated with the greater part of his army back to Asia, leaving behind Mardonius to continue his campaign. Mardonius was defeated at Plataea the following year, effectively ending the Persian invasion. So, going back to Daniel 11 and 2, let's read it one more time. "And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia." So, right, the king at the time was Cyrus the Great. And the 3 kings that were yet to stand up were Cambyses II, Bardia, his younger brother, and Darius the Great. And that 4th king, who was to be far richer than they all, was Xerxes the First, son of Darius the Great. Now, Lord willing, this video was edifying. And before I go, I would like once again to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and Shalom.